Kaizer Chiefs' crumbling continued whilst Sekhukhune United's stalemate secured them third spot in the Betway Premiership. Now, we all know that the Premiership was breathtaking. Some teams were left breathing through the wound, while others, it was a sigh of relief. Ladies and gents, welcome to the Betway Premiership Review Show.
The title chasers were off doing their thing in Egypt, so it was left to the rest of the teams to entertain us in the Betway Premiership this weekend. And I must say, they didn't disappoint. Out of the 8 teams in action, only one of them failed to score. Golden Arrows going down 1-0 to Lesotho in a KZN derby. Etiosa Igudaro grabbed the decisive goal late on to lift Amazulu up to 6th. At the old Peter Mokaba Stadium, 2 teams struggling for form played out a 1-1 draw. SuperSport United opened the scoring through Saile's glancing header. But a terrible tackle in the area from Nyiko Mobi gave Rise and Shine a lifeline, which was duly tucked away by Vusiwe Ngcobo. Honours even in Polokwane. Sunday saw 2 high flyers do battle as TS Galaxy welcomed Sekhukhune to the Dobsonville Stadium. At the end of the 90, we weren't any closer to figuring out who's taking that third and final CAF spot though, as Kamogelo Sibilibili scored for the second week in a row to earn TS Galaxy a point. Sekhukhune stay third, 7 points clear of the Rockets in 5th. And finally, we come to the Amakosi, Kaizer Chiefs, an institution of South African and indeed African football, and also a team that looks in danger of missing out on the top 8 after they went down to Morumo Gallants, at home. And to think, things started so well for the Glamour Boys.
Now, a bit of pace from Linepo. This looks promising for Kaizer Chiefs. Good shot! What a goal! What a goal!
But then the wheels came off. Matome Matiane equalized just before half-time. Wandile Duba nearly restored the Chiefs' lead but saw his effort bounce back off the post. And 7 minutes later, Chiefs' misery was compounded as Daniel Nsendami bagged the winner to condemn Nabi's men to an 11th defeat this season.
Nsendami takes it. Looking for the touch. That's gone all the way in. From the free kick. The Zimbabwean scores from an incredible range.
Ngegama nguVusiwe Ngcobo, and to relook and relive this past weekend's action, I'm joined by our trusted tech team. There is, of course, the super journo, Mazola Molefe, jet setter, alongside Grant Bisset. Now I'll start with the jet-setting super journo from Cairo to KZN to Johannesburg. Guningi. Let's talk about Umdlali that stole the show for you this past weekend, your MVP.
Oh, I don't know. It has to be from a Marumo Gallant's point of view. I think Sendami, quality player. In fact, the Marumo Gallant's coach, Absalam Wadu, has said that he thinks, in his opinion, he's only been in the Betway Premiership for a couple of months. He says that guy can play in Europe. So, delivering a performance like that, I know Kaizer Chiefs are not, are blowing hot and cold, but it's Kaizer Chiefs still. And Marumo are ticking all the boxes, and that's my most valuable player.
I think he has a few major shortcomings, but in other aspects of the game, he's up there. Of course, I'm going to look at all the metrics each week, and
of course, we wouldn't expect that.
I mean, he's number 1 for total shots taken. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean shots that have hit the target. Or have hit the back of the net, because that's happened a little too infrequently.
But he's a goal threat. He's a
goal threat, and I think he draws a lot of attention. And also, he's the most fouled player in the league. So, they get to profit from set pieces as a result of the work he does. But yeah, that conversion rate, which is below 5%, by the way, needs to improve drastically.
So are you saying
your try is the best, Granty, because you never know what's going to happen.
So I would say, are you saying if Kaizer Chiefs are going to go shopping, look no further than Mangaung?
Perhaps.
He doesn't like to commit.
Well, I mean, the last forward that they bought, he had just scored against them, and you had to feel like, did they get Morris just because he scored against them? So if they're working on that premise, then fine.
Then he's definitely ticking that box. Okay, so since you're speaking, Mr. VIP chilling, hey, we saw you there chilling with the big shots at the FMG Stadium. Is that where your MVP comes from?
I'll give you my moment from FNB Stadium later, but for MVP, again, because we just... The true meaning of MVP on this show has been tossed out the window a long time ago.
By you?
I think it was by him, but I'm going to go for our most valuable person this week and gets the job done again, away, another derby win, and it's for me, it's Atazwane. I think
okay, I didn't see that coming. Okay,
but you didn't see it coming, but it makes sense, right?
I guess.
I think, considering where the team were when he came in and all the issues that they'd had, and there have been hiccups and some serious ones, I think to Stellenbosch along the way. But by and large, if you're an AmaZulu fan and you look at where the team were with all those defeats when he came in and where they are now, yes, they can't, CAF is too far away, but they can fight it out for a nice 5th, 6th, and at the end of the day, your season looks okay. So
okay, Grant. Then this is not your KZN bias talking. No,
no Shem, I don't think it's his KZN bias speaking. Of course, Atazwane is securing maximum points against Golden Arrows and that KZN derby this weekend. Godara, of course, finding the back of the net. So while I'm on you, Mr. KZN, bring me to your moment then.
So I will go to a moment from the FNB Stadium, and whether he meant it or not, it has helped his conversion rate tick from about 3.5 to about 4.5. I don't know if Msindami was trying to score from there, but it's a very unique goal. I know you see teams score direct from free kick that is kind of, they're trying to play on margin for error, like someone might touch it in, but I've directed it in on goal. But that one was very strange with the bounce over the top. I think he was trying to put it into an area of uncertainty, a great area for his teammates to attack, and it went to the back of the net.
Yeah.
But still, just because of the rarity of that type of goal, it has to be my moment, and it's the winner. So, yeah.
Indeed. All right. And your moment, Mazola?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the Soccer City. I think what the coach Wadu has done since he came in when Marumo were flirting with relegation, and everybody, all of us were like, okay, who's this guy? What's he gonna do? But if you look at his CV, where he's been, you can understand. And he hasn't had time really to coach this team, to get to buy into his DNA. But for some reason, they've improved in leaps and bounds, and more edging towards a top 8 finish than typically finding a newly sort of I know they bought the status, but for the story for the story, we can say they're a newly promoted team. You always find them fighting for relegation or in the playoffs. So hats off to Coach Absalam Wadu.
All right, coming through those moments from the FNB Stadium, a big game. Now, the 8 teams in action on the weekend gave us 8 goals. Only goal shy Golden Arrows didn't find the back of the net. However, Imaruma Gallants made up for it with their twin strikes. Brought to you by Betway Scores, here are our top 3 strikes of the week.
Now, a bit of pace from Linepo. This looks promising for Kaizer Chiefs. Good shot! What a goal! What a goal! Cutting inside, the Congolese strikes it firmly with the right foot. No chance for Arubi.
Listen, Makhalwa. Still Makhalwa. Well, Makhalwa's done well. Even better at the back post. Sekhukhune United break the deadlock. Ohizu. Polokwane City, one of them. Oh, there's an opportunity. In fact, it's been deflected in by Sapili Pili. Munyai does all the hard work. Hardly a change of facial expression from Tim Sukazi. Continues to beat the drum. Sapili Pili pops up and scores for the 4th time this season.
Now, if you do want to keep your finger on the pulse of the beautiful game, then Betway Scores is certainly your friend. Betway Scores brings you up-to-the-minute updates, savvy stats, and all the latest lineups. Thanks to Betway Scores, you will never miss a memorable moment again. To download it, scan the QR code on your screen right now, and it will take you to where you get your apps. Now, speaking of memorable moments, this is the Betsaver save of the week that left us gushing at the brilliant goalkeeping.
Kapinga over the head of Ohiru, who somehow makes the save to the top of Iru. And how he managed to save that, the Ivorian. Yeah, it's another story altogether, I think. What a match-winning save there. Brilliant save there from Ira.
Now, Betsaver is, of course, like having an army of brilliant keepers protecting your slip. Oh, good play on words there. Okay, now with Betsaver, you can win back a portion of your multi-bet even if you miss a few bets. Before we go on, gents, I want us to touch on Nasruddin Nabi and what his future's looking like at Amakosi. I've heard talks here and there, my hemi saying, hey, Nabi's wanted internationally. Is he going to stay at Kaizer Chiefs? Because people are saying for so long, we've said the problem at Chiefs is the players. It's not the right type of players. It's not the right quality. But coaches have been getting sacked with that being what was being said. But with Nabi, it seems to be give the coach a chance.
I think the Kaizer Chiefs management have a tough decision on their hands. If Nabi somehow manages a top 8 finish and wins the Nedbank Cup, I think they can probably argue that, okay, let's try give him one more season. He did say he needs, 3-4 transfer windows. Let's buy into that philosophy, get more players of the quality that he needs in and give him another season. If they finish outside the top 8, which looks likely at the present moment, and they lose the Nedbank Cup, it's a terrible season. The worst that they've probably had in the top flight division for
I think it could very well be. That top 8 finish is looking more and more unlikely as time goes on because they're currently outside of the top 8. They're battling with Chipper there who have a much better goal difference and games are running out. Arrows have a whole host of games in hand over them and I think 9 additional points to play for, right, with a 4-point gap. Maruma Gallants are still outsiders and they're in good form and Chiefs honestly have a fairly tough run in. What they need is to still be within touching distance of Polokwane City come their final game against Rise and Shine, who themselves will possibly need that win to make sure they're in the top 8. So it's an unbelievably tricky equation. And yes, there'll be an asterisk on this season because of the amended log table, which doesn't include Royal AM. And I'm glad now that it doesn't because we don't have to work backwards, minusing here. We can just look at the table and say, okay, these are the facts. But they could finish, they very likely will finish with their lowest ever points tally. Yes, fewer points to play for. And that 10th position from last season, which is their worst ever, they could be finishing in a similar position again. So,
and remember, in Gavin Hunt's first season, almost similar, albeit going further up in a different competition in the CAF Champions League, getting sacked only after getting them to the semis, and then getting sacked before they reached the final. And he was outside the top 8. A lot of the time people were talking about Kaizer Chiefs are more relegation candidates than they were title challengers or top 8 contenders or whatever the case may be. And he was sacked, 8 months into the season with 2 years left on his contract. So Nasruddin Nabi is pretty much in the same predicament. Stuart Baxter was sacked for less. So that's what I'm saying. It's different. Are Kaizer Chiefs going to go the route of being patient and saying trust the process with the coach, give him the transfer windows no matter top 8 or Nedbank Cup, or are they going to say this is not good enough? And I think this is not good enough for Kaizer Chiefs club, Kaizer Chiefs stature. So let's see what decision they take. Because
my MVP for this week was sacked for less.
He's very funny. You look at Kaizer Chiefs, their last 3 games of the season. Of course, Orlando Pirates, it's going to be a big derby this weekend. They've got Sekhukhune United and they wrap up, as Grant said, with Rise and Shine. Let's then speak to the derby. It's going to be a very nice one this weekend. How do we see the derby panning out? We've got 2 derbies coming up, of course, Betway Prem and we've got Nedbank Cup final. And as you gents answer me that question, let's also speak to how that loss for Orlando Pirates in the CAF Champions League is going to affect the rest of the season for them being their last dance.
I wonder about this midweek game, which is also very, very tough for Pirates. Number one, they play and Chiefs don't. But then again, they have an opportunity to kind of get themselves back on track or get that momentum or get that winning feeling again, whereas Chiefs don't. The derby is always difficult to predict, except a few years ago when you knew it was going to end 0-0. But these days it's more difficult, regardless of the form the two teams are in. So, yeah, it almost becomes, it's always must win, but there's there's so much more riding on it, and then the momentum going into the National Cup finals. So
one thing I will say about Nabi is that he's turned Chiefs into a side for the big moments. You look at when they played, apart from that 4-1, was it 4-1, 4-2 in the culling against when Ngcobo was still Sundowns coach. They've ran Sundowns pretty close. 4-0. I donated a goal.
You gave them a goal.
They ran Sundowns close in league matches, and then obviously knocked them out of the Nedbank Cup. With Orlando Pirates, the same. When they've played against Orlando Pirates, they ran them pretty close. It's been thin
But
margins.
it wasn't Orlando Pirates that was recovering from being knocked out
Yeah,
of
but
the
you never
Champions
know.
League.
That could spur the players on to say, okay, Champions League out the way. We've really got to, make this with the coach's while in his last dance or whatever the case may be, and try to challenge as much as we can. They've already done better at it, making sure that at this stage, the points difference between them and Sundowns is not 16 or 23. So they've closed the gap somewhat, and they'll want to continue doing that. But they've also got tough games. Or on the other side, you could look that they maybe are deflated, disappointed, and the teams that play them, including midweek games and Kaizer Chiefs, take advantage of that. But I really don't know which way this is going.
Okay, guys, we are running out of time. Give me a winner for the first derby. Mazola, fast.
It's a tough
Winner,
one.
stalemate.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 2-2 draw.
A 2-2 draw.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
don't come to
Grant?
me. I don't make predictions.
Grant,
This is the review show.
Tell me Nedbank Cup final, okay?
Same applies.
Grant Bisset never wants
Fence
to put
sitter.
his neck on the line. The sold-out FNB Stadium fanfare on Saturday will, of course, be a festival of colour and creativity, and we will be there to experience all the thrills and frills. We'll be back with you, of course, next week. From myself, Vusiwe Ngcobo, Mazola, Molefe, as well as Grant. Never put my neck on the line. Bisset, we'll see you next week.